Your cat is a 5,000 generation predator standing on your kitchen counter, and the pen you just watched roll off the edge in slow motion was not an accident. It was a controlled experiment, and you are the funding source. Somewhere between adorable house pet and apex hunter with a Wi-Fi password, your cat kept the exact same brain it would have used to survive alone in a barn, and that brain has never once stopped asking one question about every object it meets. Does this move? And what happens when I make it move? You just happen to be the one who has to buy a new water glass every time the answer comes back, yes, and it shatters. That question starts with the paw, which is doing a lot more work than it looks like it's doing. Cat paws are covered in touch receptors, dense enough that a single tap can tell your cat the weight, the texture, and the stability of an object without a single bite involved. It's less like a hand and more like a tiny fur-covered inspection tool your cat drags across the world. Kittens use this constantly to build a working map of how physical objects behave. Push a ball, it rolls. Push a rock, it doesn't. Push a glass of water toward a table edge, and gravity, which your cat has never heard of by name, becomes something it has personally tested about 400 times by the time it's a year old. Basically, your cat runs the same experiment a toddler runs by throwing food off a high chair, except the toddler eventually grows out of it, and the cat structurally never does. That's not a flaw in the design. That's a hunter keeping its instruments calibrated, the same way you'd check that a kitchen knife is still sharp, except the knife, in this case, is a stapler, and the calibration happens at 2 in the morning. Underneath the testing is the actual reason the paw exists in the first place. Hunting. In the wild, a cat's version of a meal doesn't lie still waiting to be eaten. It's a mouse or a bird doing everything it can to get away, and a huge part of disabling something small and fast is a swat drop pounce sequence that looks, to the untrained eye, exactly like knocking your phone charger off the nightstand. The paw swat that sends your water bottle spinning off the table is the same movement, run on the same neural wiring, as the paw swat that would have stunned a field mouse mid-sprint. Your cat isn't malfunctioning when it does this in your apartment. It's running fully intact hunting software on office supplies, because office supplies are the only prey-shaped objects currently on offer, and unlike an actual mouse, your stapler has the decency not to run away afterward. Here's the part that's genuinely ironic and worth naming directly. Dogs got bred over thousands of years, specifically for cooperation, herding, guarding, fetching, taking instructions from a human standing right next to them. Cats mostly domesticated themselves. They started showing up near early grain stores to eat the rodents that showed up to eat the grain, and humans mostly just let them stay, because free pest control is free pest control. Nobody was selectively breeding cats for obedience the way they were breeding dogs for it, because nobody needed to. The entire arrangement worked as long as the cat kept hunting. So the animal currently sleeping on your keyboard carries a genome that is startlingly close to its wild ancestors. Which means you brought a nearly unmodified predator into a climate-controlled apartment with central heating and then acted personally betrayed when it treats your desk like unclaimed hunting territory. You didn't tame a wolf into a golden retriever. You struck a business deal with a small, extremely committed contractor, and the contract never actually mentioned your desk was off-limits. Then, there's the part your cat has figured out that has nothing to do with instinct and everything to do with you. Knocking something off a table works. Not works as in successfully applies the laws of physics. Works as in gets a reaction every single time, faster than almost anything else in the cat's toolkit. You look up. You say its name in that specific tone, reserved only for this exact crime. You get up and walk over, maybe with treats, maybe with a stern lecture the cat cannot understand a word of, but clearly enjoys the tone of. From a bored animal's perspective, that's not punishment, that's the jackpot. You just proved that a single flick of the paw can summon a large, warm, food-dispensing creature on command, on a schedule the cat controls entirely. Cats are excellent at noticing which behaviors move you, and your dramatic reaction the first time is, functionally, you personally training the exact behavior you're now trying to stop. The irony is almost too clean. The more theatrically you react, the better the trick works, which means the very people most annoyed by this behavior are often the ones who've spent the longest time accidentally rehearsing it. Underneath both the hunting and the attention-seeking sits something plainer and a little sadder: boredom. A cat with outdoor access might patrol a territory the size of several city blocks, checking, hunting, marking scent posts, solving small problems, all day, every day, unpaid and thrilled about it. A cat in a one-bedroom apartment gets a windowsill, a scratching post, and whatever happens to be sitting on the table. Knocking objects off ledges isn't just instinct firing at random, it's frequently the single most interesting event available in an environment that, from a predator's point of view, is roughly as stimulating as an airport waiting room with better snacks. Give a smart, high-energy hunter absolutely nothing to actually hunt, and it will, with total and unshakable confidence, promote your entire pen collection to the status of prey, one item at a time, on a schedule that seems designed to interrupt whatever you're doing at the exact moment you sit down. Not every cat runs this program at the same intensity either, and that's worth a quick aside before we get to the part everyone actually asks about. A cat that gets an hour of real hunting-style play a day, has a windowsill with a view of moving birds, and a rotating cast of toys to dismantle is generally a cat with far less motivation to turn your desk into a research lab. A cat that gets none of that isn't broken or spiteful, it's just an athlete with no practice field, and an athlete with no practice field starts treating the living room like one. That's the quiet detail that trips up a lot of owners. They read the behavior as a personality flaw. My cat is just naughty, when it's usually closer to a mismatch between how much predator is in the animal and how much prey-shaped stimulation the apartment is offering it on a given day. And then there's the moment that convinces most cat owners this is personal, the slow, deliberate eye contact right before the paw makes contact, like your cat is checking whether you're watching before it commits to the crime. People studying this behavior describe it less as spite and more as information gathering. Your cat is reading your face and your posture for a reaction, the same way it would read a mouse's twitch for a reaction, because reaction is the entire point of the test, not the object falling. It's not that your cat wants to make you angry specifically, it's that your response is the single most reliable, most immediate form of feedback available in its entire day, and mild fury still counts as feedback. The look isn't, watch me be evil. The look is closer to a scientist glancing at the readout before writing anything down, closer to recording your response for later, and later is usually about 4 minutes from now. None of this means you're stuck watching your desk get cleared every single morning for the rest of your cat's life. Redirecting a hunting brain works far better than punishing one, because the drive to swat, stalk, and pounce doesn't disappear just because you yelled about the coffee mug, it just needs somewhere legal to go. A few focused minutes of one-toy play that actually ends in a kill at the end, rather than getting bored and quitting mid-hunt, drains a huge amount of that pent-up predatory energy before it ever reaches your desk. A puzzle feeder that turns food into something to be hunted and solved, instead of something that simply appears in a bowl twice a day, gives the brain something closer to what it evolved to do. A shelf, a windowsill, or a proper cat tree turns unused vertical space in your apartment into new territory to patrol, which matters more than it sounds like it should to an animal whose entire ancestral strategy involved having somewhere higher to watch from. Which is the last bit of irony in all of this, and maybe the most useful one. The animal that seems to be destroying your desk on purpose, staring you down while it does it, is not actually trying to ruin your morning. In its own language, it's asking you for a job. Give it one. Something to stalk, something to solve, somewhere to climb, and the 5000 generation predator currently perched on your counter finally has something more interesting to test than whether gravity still works. It does. It's worked the whole time. Your cat just needed a better reason to check.